I start. Okay. So that we are talking about buddhi, karma, buddhi, and jnana yoga. These are the processes, three processes that God has given with us, a particular methodology to practice them. And buddhi yoga is a compound word; it's not a process, but it connects all these things. So when Krishna says in 2.39, I have given you the knowledge of body and soul. Now you practice that. Put that in your life through buddhi. That is buddhi yoga. Through your ability to discriminate. Again in 266, in the midst of the sita prajna lakshana, steady mind thing. Krishna also says, Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavatya shantir ashantasya karta sukham. So without buddhi, there is no nasti buddhi ayuktasya. There is no yukti. There is no skill or competence. And without that, without having that, we cannot evoke the bhava, the feeling towards God. And without bhava, nacha bhavata shantet. Without bhava, we cannot get peace of mind. And without peace of mind, we cannot get happiness. So buddhi is given there. And again in the 10th chapter, Krishna says, in order to get that buddhi to execute karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga, also we need buddhi. That's why we need to please God and try to be, very fondly remember Him. Tesham satatektanam bhajatam priti parokam dadami buddhi yogantam enama upayantite. So that is there also, I give you that intelligence to practice these things. Why I am telling this is, it's a good understanding that karma, jnana, bhakti are three different processes, and they are linked with this buddhi yoga, the compound word buddhi. And then later, now in the 18th chapter, in the shlokas that we are going to run through, again that word of buddhi comes in the midst of the confluence of bhakti, jnana, and karma. So in the portion of this 18th chapter, the karma, jnana, bhakti, as we understood, merge as a three very nicely overflowing rivers in a confluence. They become a sangam, Prayag, and then from then onwards, the stream that follows till the end of the Bhagavad Gita is the pure bhakti, and the topmost bhakti, or very mature level of bhakti, leading to the ultimate surrender of God. So, however, even in that, the karma yoga, the activities that we have to perform, Krishna always tells Arjuna, even in the end, as we go through, Krishna again emphasizes to Arjuna that you have to work. So abstaining from work is not an option. So in the karma yoga also, there are two very, very different aspects that we can see. It's a very broad thing. Karma yoga is not not a narrow-minded thing. So we see there are two very different types of karma yoga. One karma yoga that we know as karma yoga is that we have to do our activities, prescribed activities, but should not seek results out of it, or should not even contemplate to enjoy the results of that. But we have to, first is detachment from the activities, and then having a mindset to offer those activities, results of the activities is Lord. This is one karma yoga, and there are many people who have done it. But from a Ramayana point of view, if you take the lessons learned from Ramayana, we see this type of a karma yoga was extremely well practiced by Bharata and Shatrughna, because Bharata, whatever he did, because he didn't want to rule the kingdom, and when he came to know that Rama had been sent to the forest, because at that time when Dasharatha sent Rama to forest, Bharata was not there in Ayodhya. He was there in his in-laws' place, right? When he comes back, he comes to know this, and he feels very bad, and he runs after to meet Rama. And he meets Rama. And Bharata gives so many things. Like the way Arjuna tells 5 reasons of not fighting, and Krishna advises him to fight, Bharata also tells so many reasons. And Rama, one reason after another, he again clarifies and kind of puts a counterpoint to Bharata, saying that he is not correct, that he has to rule the country, he has to do his duty. So that Bharat Milap, that's why it's a very famous thing, where several counterpoints come in a very transparent manner between two very exalted devotees, when God sent God Amsha own devotees, and then that's the reason why in Ramayana also Acharya say that Bharat Milap conversation is so important. That among the many small pastimes that Rama has done in his Leela, that is one pastime where he has talked the most in one place. Otherwise, Rama is normally silent. He keeps doing his work and is always in the meditative mood. But in that thing, he does it very detailed. So Bharata had to do his duty, but he did in the duty with complete surrender and dependence on God, and he has given complete the fruit of the activities or results of the activities to the Lord. So even though he was ruling Ayodhya in the absence of his brother, and while he was actually coronated as king, he was very detached to his position, and he knew that one day he has to give this back to Rama, and but during his position to rule the kingdom, he had ruled the kingdom very well. But every moment he was thinking about Rama. So surrendering our results of activities and doing our duty to the extent possible, Bharata is a very good example. Even though he had a very good opportunity by law, by means, by the blessing of his mother, that he is made king and he's a king. He can enjoy the kingdom. But he didn't do it. Despite all the things that are so very near to him, he didn't do it. And why Shatrughna is great? Because Shatrughna also surrendered all what he has done in the service of Bharata. So to serve his brother, he has given up what he could have done, but he has served. So Bharata is one example of a very good practitioner of Karma Yoga. That is Bharata. Another interesting thing, Lakshmana. Lakshmana is also doing duty. But Lakshmana's Karma Yoga is a very different. Lakshmana gave away all the things of work that he is supposed to do, and he has converted that energy into only serving the Lord. That was his work. But for doing that, taking that exclusive service, he has rejected everything others in life, including his mother, his kingdom, his responsibilities. He did it, and that is also a Karma Yoga. But in its mature state, it appears like as a Bhakti Yoga. Complete surrender, right? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam. Even though this shloka is told as an ultimate charama shloka of Bhagavad Gita in the nature of bhakti, but there is a very strong undercurrent of karma also in this. Rejecting all the prescribed duties, Lakshmana surrendered to the Lord. So both are karma yogis, but in a very different manner. So in our lives also we see, right, in ISKCON, if you see, many of the current acharyas and many of the great devotees have left their duties. They left the duty of serving their parents. They left the duty of serving their relatives. Sometimes they left the duty of serving their local communities. But they came away and put their mind and soul in the service of the God. We see that kind of a devotees. Like our gurus and acharyas, if you see their lives, in particularly the first set of American batch of devotees who joined ISKCON, most of them were from a very materially, very opulent families. They had some business, like for example, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, I think they had a paint factory. B.B. Govind Swami Maharaj comes from a very, very well-known musician's family. Even Elvis Presley is somewhere related to him or something like that. So they give up that kind of a duty that they have to perform to society, but they came here. So they are like a Lakshmana kind of a thing. But whereas we as Grihasthas can be like Bharata, doing the duty to stay in wherever we are there, even though that carrying duty may be personally be unpleasant to us. But still we have to do for us to become more mature and be able to do what we have to do to the best that we can without attachment, but with a motive to surrender our results to the Lord. That in summary talks about these things, and I really thank Vasant Prabhu for sending me that post. It has triggered me lots of thinking in terms of this. I always used to think that Buddhi Yoga is also a part of a process of yoga. That's why in the yoga ladder we don't see specifically Buddhi Yoga. It's a part. Buddhi Yoga is a means to apply and practice these three yogas: Jnana, Karma and Bhakti. So, and we say, as we come to the 18th chapter ending, we have remembered that one of the important shlokas, this I requested devotees that it has to be by hearted. I don't know how many of you have by hearted. If you have not known before, if you have known it before, it's fine. So at least we can take it as a new year resolution. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, that previous shloka, and 1855, Bhaktiyama ma vijanati yavan yes chasmi tatvata taha tato mam tatato jnatva vishate tat anantaram. Kindly take this as a new year resolution. We have one more week from this very happy Christmas day to the happy New Year day. So try to practice this by heart, this shloka, because this shloka, as I told you, karma, jnana, bhakti as a processes are merging and now getting into a stream of a ripened, thick flow of very high matured state of bhakti. Yeah. So that's why it's important. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, only by devotional service. Only by devotional service. And by how that devotional service can be done. So for that we need to apply our buddhi, intelligence of the think of discrimination. And one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of Godhead. God, that is back to Godhead. This is our ultimate dharma, right? Ultimate thing. So we have done this so far. So today we will now again, even in the advanced stages of 18, we have come to the 56th shloka, and Krishna is telling sarva karmani api sada kurvanyo mad vyapashrayah mat prasadat avapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. So here Krishna is telling, though engaged in all kinds of activities like us, all sorts of activities that we are engaged in, my pure devotee, and see the word using of pure devotee is coming here, as I told you. Now the maturity, the strength and the thing is coming into the pure devotee. The pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode of my grace. So here Krishna is slowly leading to Arjuna that and showing the gate of the Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada's favorite word is that back to Godhead. So Krishna is telling Arjuna how a person reaches this by bhaktiyama vijanati, and then even though he's engaged in all activities, that kind of a devotee who knows that only through bhakti God can be realized by applying buddhi yoga, and he automatically comes under the protection of the Lord and reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. Like Sadhu Sevan Prabhu was telling, right? Gratitude is one of the important things. And I think the very interesting word that he has used, the regrets turn into gratitude. That's a very, very nice realization. So by that grace of the 6 empires that he talked about, and Nityananda Prabhu batting for us, so it's pretty interesting. So that is the grace through which we have. So one other very important thing that we are fortunate to be, like Prabhu also mentioned, we don't know how many zeros are there after the point before that one comes, right? So majority of the people, even though they know that Lord Krishna is there, Krishna has given Arjuna, Krishna has given a lot of conditional knowledge to Arjuna. We are fortunate that we are in a sampradaya where we are connected to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and great personalities like Nityananda Prabhu, who are full of mercy and who are always very, 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 very eager to serve the devotees and to open the kingdom of Godhead, open the love of Godhead through the following of the Yuga Dharma, that is chanting. So they are always there to help us, they are always there to grace us. So that kind of a safety net is there. Even if we fall down, they are there to pick up. That safety net of the devotees, a Guru Parampara, is given to us almost free. And so that's why we need to apply these shlokas not only as devotees but also as the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it gives a very, very different and an interesting perspective in understanding these shlokas that are going to come. Yeah, so I'll quickly read this. The word Mad Vyapashraya means under the protection of Supreme Lord. To be free from material contamination, a pure devotee acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative or the spiritual master. There is no, there is no time limitation for a pure devotee. He is always 24 hours a day, 100% engaged in activities under the direction of the Supreme Lord. To a devotee who is thus engaged in Krishna conscious, the Lord is very kind. In spite of all difficulties, he is eventually placed in transcendental abode or Krishna Loka. He is guaranteed entrance there. There is no doubt about it. In that supreme abode, there is no change. Everything is eternal, imperishable, and full of knowledge. So this is an important thing. But here this says, to a devotee who is thus engaged in Krishna consciousness, the Lord is very kind. But we are being asked to be Krishna conscious 24 hours a day, 100%. In our current state, for most of us, it's not possible probably, but somewhere or other we need to remember this and try to slowly and steadily move towards a situation where we can always remember Krishna but never forget Krishna. And we have to struggle. Now our condition is that we have to struggle to remember Krishna, but there are devotees, for them the struggle is not to forget Krishna. How to forget Krishna? Because we see in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto 47th chapter the prayers of bumblebee, right? The song of bumblebee, and this is the topic that is being discussed in the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya now. There the problem for gopis is how can we forget Krishna? We are in such a lot of lamentation and frustration, and we have to forget that little boy who came in our lives, who captivated us. We fell in love with him. We enjoyed so much, but he's not there with us, and I don't know whether they can come or not. So we want to forget him. Oh my God, but we are not able to forget him. What is this situation? We want to forget, but they cannot forget. But we want to remember, but we cannot remember. So the extreme contrast even in the devotional says. That's why we are sadhakas who are trying to practice, and they are the devotees, the gopis are the exalted and most devotees in the most highest platform that we can imagine. We may not be able to go there, but at least we can understand that as we move step by step, inch by inch, we can see the Krishna conscious activities become a major part of our life. As long as if we can do that, that's good. And the rest of material activities that we have to execute should become a secondary thing to the extent possible. It doesn't mean that we throw away our material activities, because as our prescribed duty, Bhagavad Gita itself is also telling that we must carry out our prescribed duty the way they should be, but in a consciousness so that we can dovetail at least the result of those activities to Krishna. So if we do those activities sincerely, without any deceit or cheating others, without any unlawful means, then it becomes a bit easier for us to offer those results to Krishna, our salaries or bonuses or whatever we get, we can offer it to Krishna. And if you lose that also, the lessons that we learn, we can offer it to Krishna to move forward. So in that way, engage in all kinds of activities. So this Krishna did not say that though engaged in devotional activities, my pure devotees. No, he says all kinds of activities. So that's a good thing that Krishna is giving. So again, the Karma Yoga is saying, again, if you see here, Chetasas, Lalita Bhakti Mataji, you want to read this shloka? I think Mataji is not there. Hare Krishna. Okay. I'll say 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya macchitta satatam bhava. So you now get a point why I talked so much on buddhi yoga before. And this buddhi yoga, when I'm talking so much, again, I must say thanks to Vasant Prabhu. This is how we devotees help each other. Whenever we read something, we pass it to others so that others can read and absorb, and probably they may be able to analyze it and attach to something that they're going to say later. Without that article, I wouldn't have understood Buddhi Yoga like that. So Buddhi Yogam is coming here also. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya machitta satatam bhava. In all activities, just depend on me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. Prabhupada has given Buddhi Yoga means doing devotional activities with the sense of discrimination. That is not explicitly stated, but that is important. Blindly doing devotional service or blindly doing some activities is not, but with a sense of discretion of that, and then applying a quoting of time, place, circumstances, and applying further quote of our eligibility and compatibility while doing this. So when we say devotional activity, that filters also have to be applied so that we don't cause a disharmony in our life. Uh, Sumangal Prabhu, you want to read the thing? How much time? Yeah, we can finish this paragraph here.
When one acts in Krishna consciousness, he does not act as the master of the world. Just like a servant, one should act fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. A servant has no individual independence. He acts only on the order of the master. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit or loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the law. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? If one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna, then the result will be the same. The Sanskrit word mat paraha is very important in this verse. It indicates that one has no goal in life save an, save an it indicates that one has no goal in life save an except acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed in discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. This is perfect Krishna consciousness. One should, however, note that after doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That sort of duty is not in the devotional service of Krishna consciousness. One should act according to the order of Krishna. This is a very important point. The order of Krishna comes through disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master's order should be taken as the prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts according to the direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed.
Hare Krishna. So we have to do the activities, and we'll get the automatic thing. And this very important point. What is that important point? One should however note that after doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That sort of duty is not devotional service of Krishna consciousness. One should act according to the order of Krishna. This is very important point. Yeah, this is sometimes we have a tendency of what we do, and we say that, oh, we can offer it to Krishna because it's somewhere it's doing. Does anybody has any example of this in life? One should, however, note that after doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. You want to say? Say loud, Prabhu, because no, okay. If any devotees want to share. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I'm here. I'm telling something. I mean, very fondly remembering this. I'm not criticizing someone, but one thing which was very interesting to me was that we had one god sister, very senior god sister, and a very very nice devotee, and she was very extremely innocent also. She now lives in Trivandrum, a very nice devotee. So she and she's very innocent, and she was very serious about her devotional thing. So after she came into devotional thing, she was learning at that time to offer everything to the Krishna. But he had one daughter and one son, and so son was a bit naughty guy and very active guy. So when he was in 8th, 9th, 10th kind of classes, he used to ask his parents to take him to movies. So, but Mataji was getting a bit stifled with that idea because she knows that she should be doing most of her activities in Krishna consciousness, and going to a movie is not a good thing. But he was pestering her, and when they were not allowing to go, when they were not coming to movie with him, he used to get very restless in the house, and a lot of disharmony used to happen in their house. So Mataji decided that she would go to movie with him because that will give him peace, and that's how she can offer that activity to Krishna, because that activity gives her peace, so that she can chant and do the other devotional activities better. So there was a question. There used to be an argument on this, or a discussion on this, whether what Mataji is doing this is correct or not. Like going to movie to pacify his son, and then taking that activity also as a part of Krishna consciousness. So in those days we were very young, so we used to make fun of her because majority of us also were doing like that. But none of us had that simplicity and innocence in our heart to share it with others. Like that, Mataji used to say some very peculiar things in her personal life also. So I fondly remember her devotion and her sincerity. So we could not get any full conclusion on the topic whether we should take the kids to movies and offer that time and activity to Krishna as a service to Krishna, because we are trying to pacify our kid. Because the kid is pacified, we can do better in Krishna consciousness. I just leave it with you. It's an individual decision and individual thing. But this is the one incident that I always remember, whether we can offer these kind of things to Krishna. It's a subjective thing. I'm just remembering her very fondly.
Probably here, one thing good is that Mataji is thinking that kids belong to Krishna. It's Krishna's what do you call entities, you know. That's a very good point. But then you're offering to Krishna.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the same problem that you just explained. I mean, I have slight experience of that, so I want to just modify the same question, the same scenario that you told, Prabhu. If the same Mataji would have taken his son for movie, with the extra information that I'm going to add here is, the child would start chanting some extra rounds if he is taken to movie once in a month or once in a like bi-weekly. Does that become a little bit more KC activity, or it still holds good at the same platform only?
No, yeah, bro, that's what I'm telling. It's a very personal thing. But my take on that is that since we are in a place where we are sadhakas, it's not too much of a fault or too much of a blemish if we leave some space for us to Maya also. Very, very, dedicated, concentrated space to Maya, and then do whatever that, and then come back. I mean, in a strict purity sense, orthodox sense, you cannot have both. Material world and spiritual activities are entirely different. You cannot club, or you cannot mix and match and move. But in our space of life, it's better sometimes to discharge our material whatever, and then come back, because otherwise, if we are here, that still pollutes. So that's how I used to go to movies with my daughter, because she also used to pester me to go bed when at the time when I had given up seeing movies, at least in the theater. But now and then she used to ask, and then some discussion used to happen. Then I said, no, no, let's go to the movie. I let's go to the movie and enjoy the movie. Period. I'll go with you. I'll enjoy as much as I can with you if I enjoy the movie. So then there's no guilt there. After the movie is over and come back home, and we get back to the normal. Otherwise, if I go with a cribbing attitude, neither she's happy nor I'm happy. I'm not able to. After coming home, that issue continues, and here and there, that erupts at some point in time. So that was my take. But some people argue that that's not the right approach. But again, it's a very personal thing, right? So.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, can I share something on this?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, recently I accidentally came across this Venugopal Prabhu's lecture. So he touched on this topic. So he said there are two types. One is the aspirational reality and one is the adjusted reality. So aspiration reality is we chant 24/7. We always think about Krishna. That is basically aspiration, our goal. But there is one adjusted reality set wherein basically to take care of our necessities, to take care of our family, we may need to do some change. Make some adjustments to it. So he quoted one example. So in his lecture once he mentioned that he was talking about one Prabhuji. He was addressing a crowd, and while addressing, he was mentioning one Prabhuji in the temple, saying that this Prabhuji and Mataji, they work 24/7. In the morning they do this, in the evening they do this, in the night they do this, and so on and so forth. So in the audience there were a couple. So when they went home, they were like, yes, we want to be like that couple. So they started working towards it. Now this couple, they used to go on a trip once in a year, abroad trip, just for a break. So this was a time when the family used to be together. But now because the wife said, now we have to work together towards Krishna. This is not Krishna conscious activity. Let's forget all the trip. Let's work together. They're kind of created an imbalance within the couple or within the family. And then they approach Venugopal Prabhu and asked him, this is a scenario we are so kindly, can you please help us with this? So Prabhuji said, see, when I'm on the Vyasasana, I can only speak about aspirational reality. I cannot on the Vyasasana, I cannot say, oh, already we are in Maya. I cannot say, boss, keep your some time for Maya. But the fact is now, because I am not on Vyasasana, the fact is, these Prabhu Mataji, which I was talking about, they did this continuous puja, this continuous seva 11 months a year. But 1 month, they used to take a break, go on to some place somewhere. They used to take some time out. They used to be together, spend time with each other, take a break, recharge themselves, come back, and for the rest of the 11 months, again, be back in action. So this is also, then the family understood, okay, so we have to somewhere probably, as you said, it's a personal thing, kind of our personal understanding our scenario, use our intelligence and try to adjust in such a way that it kind of boosts our devotional service. It shouldn't impact it otherwise. It shouldn't be that we go on a trip, then we go on another trip after 2 months and one more trip, so that actually our devotional service hampered. That shouldn't be the case. But if going on a trip or going on a movie, it actually boosts or tries to create a balance, or it kind of recharges ourselves, because as you rightly said, we are sadhakas. We are yet not on that stage. We are, in my case, everything, my all is in Maya only. It is nothing in spiritual. But in some cases, someone's one leg would be still in Maya boat and one would be in the spiritual boat. So they will have to take care of this thing and adjust the reality, the aspiration reality. So this is what I found really interesting from Venugopal Prabhu's, or Braj Bihari Das, his initiated name. So he mentioned it very nicely, Prabhu.
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Prabhu. The only catch in this is we should not make exception as a rule and a rule as an exception. As long as that we do, it is fine. We must be conscious that doing such activities, we are doing it by exception, but not as a rule. Then I think we should be okay. This is our life. And again, these kind of things are very broad thing. Each person has a different answer to that, and it also depends upon which state of situation are we in terms of family, in terms of age. If a person like me has to decide that I don't have to go to movies, absolutely no problem. So as you grow old, the taste for going and seeing the movies automatically slows down, right? And nowadays there are so many other means to catch up things also. So again, it depends. Yeah, fine. So Matchitta Sarva Durgani Mat Prasadat Tarishyasi Atha Chet Tvam Ahankara Na Shrosyasi Vinanshasi. So if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So if you become conscious of me, you will pass over the obstacles of the conditioned life by my grace. Because Arjuna has got obstacles, right? So he's asking to become conscious of him through Bhakti Yoga. And so then he says, by my grace. You see, everywhere he's telling Krishna, now third time he's telling, by my grace, by my grace. So what he's telling is, even if you do what you do, that his grace has to be there. Like the way we read it in 18th chapter 14th shloka, ultimately the God's thing has to be there for us to have any fructified action. So yeah, Sant Gopeshwar Prabhu, you want to read this quickly, and after that we'll take one more shloka and
Sure, Prabhu. The purport, right, Prabhu?
yeah.
A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort and gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature or free to act. He is already under strict material laws. But as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
And this is what Krishna is said, Dadami Buddhi Yogandam Yenama Upasit. Dadami Buddhi Yogandam. This is Buddhi. That person who acts in Krishna is free to act, but because everything is prompted by Krishna from within, that Buddhi, and confirmed by the spiritual master. Guru Sadhu Shastra, that concept also is coming here. And then Yad Ahankaram Ashtitya Na Yotsa iti Manyase Mityasya Vyavasayaste Prakritis Tvam Niyokshati. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed by your nature. You will have to be engaged in the warfare. By your nature, again Krishna says to Arjuna, there is no choice. My dear friend, I am coming to the end of Bhagavad Gita. You have no choice. By your nature, you will have to engage in the warfare. So now Krishna is very decisively again saying that Arjuna has no other option but to fight. In this case, Arjuna, it's warfare. In our case, doing our activities. Okay, I'll quickly read this. Arjuna was a military man and a born of nature of Kshatriya. Therefore, his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher, grandfather, and friends, he would incur sinful reactions. Actually, he was considering himself master of his actions, as if he were directing the good and bad results of such work. He forgot that the Supreme Personality of the Godhead was present there, instructing him to fight. That is the forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives direction as to what is good and what is bad, and one simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain perfection of life. No one can ascertain his destiny as the Supreme Lord can. Therefore, the best course is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and act. No one should neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead or the orders of Spiritual Master, who is a representative of God. One should act unhesitatingly to execute the order of Supreme Personality of the Godhead. That will keep one safe under all circumstances. So, Swabhavajena Kaunteya Nibaddhasvena Karmana Kartum Nechasi Yenmohat Karishyasi Avasho Api At. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. Because Krishna is still not confident whether Arjuna is ready to fight. It's very interesting. Under illusion, you are now declining to act. But compelled by work born from your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. If one refuses to act under the direction of Supreme Lord, then one is compelled to act by modes in which he is situated. Everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of modes of nature and is acting in that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. So he is leading Arjuna to become his thing, and we will continue this shloka next time. This is also an important shloka. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. This reminds us some instruction that Arjuna is given in the 15th chapter. So next week when we read, we roll back to the 15th chapter and see Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmanyan Sarvabhutani Brahmayam Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudhani Maya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who seated us on a machine made of material energy. So this shloka will cover, because Yantra Rudhani Maya is one word that Acharyas have also dwelt on it, and that we are like a machine, right? The example given is the roller coaster. And how many of you have gone on Dubai Eye? I believe it takes 1 hour to completely finish the thing. So my colleague was telling it's a pretty interesting ride. So I said at least we can finish 10 rounds of chanting if you go on. Again, without doing our material activities and trying to club to Krishna consciousness. But I thought if some visitors come, we can go there. Did anyone have the experience of going to Dubai with children? It is so near to us, but we are not going. See, this is the problem in Krishna consciousness also. Material activities, material things we don't see, but we have to see. Anyone? I'm just jokingly saying. Anyone has gone? Sant Gopeshwar Prabhu, did you take your daughter?
Dubai in Prabhu?
Dubai.
Not yet, Prabhu. Not yet, Prabhu. I am planning, yeah, Prabhu. I'm just waiting for discounts, Prabhu.
Expensive, is it?
Yeah, Prabhu, one person 130 dirhams. But actually, this probably next week, probably we may plan. I don't know, depending upon, we are actually waiting for our friend. So when he is available, then we would actually fund family together.
Lalita Bhaktimati Mataji has taken kids because they may enjoy that. It's really very good. My colleague said, very, very good, very safe. And Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. If any devotees have any questions, comments, we can do it. Again, once again, wishing you all very happy Christmas, and going forward to very, very happy New Year. Hare Krishna. Enjoy this next week of fun. After that, we'll be working on Fridays and enjoying on Saturdays and Sundays. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think next Saturday, there's a program in Regent School. I think 25th is first. So if that is the case, then we, then we may not have evening program, probably.
Yeah, we will see, Prabhu. It will be announced later. I don't know whether it will be a morning program or a night program. We do not know. In this current situations, would they like to do a big program in Regent School? We do not know. Still 1 more week to go. Things are dynamically changing. So we do not know. It may improve, it may not improve. They may take permission, they may not. But I think going by what Srila Prabhu's mind is there, he would like to go to have program in presence. Even last week, there was a lot of discussion in our forum of RIS events. Some of us have told, no, we should go online. Some of us told presence, and a lot of discussion, very animated discussion happened. And eventually, Srila Prabhu decided to go on in presence because I think Sanjay Mankhani was keen to have in presence program. He's not afraid. He thinks that if protocols are followed, then we are okay. So I think that leads to the point that 31st we will very likely have in presence. But is it going to be the night or is it going to be the morning is a question to be asked. So even otherwise, if you want to cancel, first is okay because devotees want to spend time with their families, it is fine. Absolutely no problem.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. One more doubt, Prabhu. This 2022, are we continuing with the Saturday or we are shifting to Sunday? Because many officers.
We can continue on Saturday because Saturday is a holiday for all, right?
Saturday now they are all shifting to Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah, Saturday is anyways off, right? So I think we don't have to change, in my opinion. We can shift to Friday night if you want. That all depends on Sumangal Prabhuji.
It's okay, Prabhu. I was just checking, Prabhu, because I assume that many programs probably, I mean, not in my case, but in your case and other Sumangal Prabhu case, Friday program may shift to Saturday. So Saturday program may have to be shifted to Sunday. That was my assumption. So I was just thinking, if in that case, if you are all planning to shift to Sunday, or we are still sticking with, we are good with Saturday.
No, Vasant Prabhu is here with me. He is saying that Friday program of Regent of Damodar Desh is going to shift to Sunday.
Might be.
Might be.
Sunday, okay.
Yeah, they've not yet decided. So a lot of things will change. So we need to adapt to whatever is there to the best of our ability and knowledge and capability or convenience. So let's see how it goes. So this week is going to be exciting in the sense that we'll be embarking on the new transition to a new work life. Long work days. That means it's a challenge to complete our rounds because work time is going to be more and more leap time in the weekend. So I don't know how we are going to adjust our lives there, yeah, in that situation.
True, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.